Automated scripts hold great power in their ability to perform the same tasks repeatedly without input from a user. This, while beneficial in many circumstances, could also be used by attackers to abuse systems, performing brute force or dictionary attacks, comment spam, website registration abuse, and using web scrapers to find email addresses in clear text. Even benevolent search engine bots may not always respect a web page's request to remain unindexed. CAPTCHAs, or completely automated public Turing tests to tell computers and humans apart, protect sites by generating tests that humans can pass but machines can't. There have been many different implementations of CAPTCHAs over the years. The first one, and likely what first comes to mind when discussing CAPTCHAs, are text-based, providing users a distorted image of a word and asking them to type that word. Today, this type of challenge has become so old and has been so popular historically that compared to other implementations, it's fairly vulnerable. Optical character recognition, or OCR software, has gotten surprisingly good at parsing the images for keywords, despite the distortion and noise added precisely to prevent this. And a side effect of these distortions is the reduction of usability for users. At some point, the images presented become too much of a garbled mess for even humans to read. To help prevent this, a typing game called Devil Typer was developed, helping to evaluate the usability of text-based CAPTCHAs quickly, effectively, and reliably. It plays exactly as any other typing game, asking the user to defeat enemies by typing the word, or, in this case, solving the CAPTCHA, associated with them. The next type of challenges are image-based, which covers a fairly wide range of tasks, from selecting only specific images or specific parts of an image, to rotating an image to its upright position. Some of these CAPTCHAs even play on text-based challenges by modifying them in different ways. One proposal uses 3D models for its characters and adds a drag-and-drop scheme. This provides strong defenses against attacks from OCR software, as they by themselves are unable to perform these actions and so require human intervention. Another proposal involves fusing text and image challenges by laying text over a related image. Words are broken into small blocks, each representing a single syllable, and a character or two is often removed to help deter OCR software. There are also face recognition challenges, which exploit the natural human ability to detect and recognize faces by presenting users with faces, using various expressions, head poses, with images that have been cropped and binarized, all these factors of which hinder the ability of machines to recognize these images as faces. Dynamic cognitive game CAPTCHAs challenge users to solve small puzzles presented to them as a fun minigame. These rely primarily on either visual or semantic matching of objects and also involve a drag-and-drop component. They're not very viable for attackers to pursue, both for automated dictionary attacks and relay attacks. There are also some gesture-based CAPTCHAs, such as CAPTCHA, which utilizes webcams to track users performing one of several tasks: nodding, shaking their head, grabbing and showing an ear, and smiling. Of these, a study found that smiling provided many false positives, at least compared to the other gestures, and noted that improvements could be made, such as using a larger dataset or a different algorithm to help the system recognize the expression. Ideally, over time, more gestures could be added, with particular focus on hands, which could significantly increase the number of gestures or combinations of gestures users are asked to mimic. Other implementations include math CAPTCHAs, which ask users to solve an equation, invisible CAPTCHAs, where a text input or area is hidden on the page in such a way that only a bot could possibly see it, and Google's reCAPTCHA, which asks the user to check a box labeled "I'm not a robot," and occasionally provides a more standard image-based challenge, like mentioned before, if it's still unsure. Of course, just as there are many implementations of CAPTCHA, there are many methods of breaking the challenges. OCR software, as mentioned earlier, has basically plagued text CAPTCHAs throughout their lifetime. Asira, an image-based challenge relying on the problem of distinguishing images of cats and dogs, was essentially broken in '08 when a novel classifier used to analyze the images could solve the entire challenge with 10.3% accuracy, which might not seem like much, but it was a monumental increase over the 0.2% accuracy of its predecessors. There's also CAPTCHA smuggling, in which attackers slip CAPTCHA challenges into the web browsing sessions of unsuspecting victims in such a way that they are perceived as a normal part of the experience. But this can be mitigated using site keys, CAPTCHA frames with user-selected backgrounds so that any other background would immediately arouse suspicion, or making users more aware of features, such as Facebook reminding registered phone users that they are exempt from these challenges. And then there's a cross-site attack that tricks users into providing their own personal information, such as email address, physical address, phone number, occupation, last digits of their credit card, and expiration date, all by presenting it to them in a spoofed challenge. Solving it gives the attacker the information, or it confirms it for them, and detection rate of the attack is startlingly low. Luckily, thwarting this attack is relatively simple, only requiring sites to leverage the XFO header, which prevents the inclusion of the iframes the attacker relies on, or using frame-busting techniques to do the same thing in browsers that do not support this header. With so many CAPTCHA implementations out there, and now so many different devices that are used to browse the internet and use web apps, there's no single approach that can feasibly be universally deployed. But the arms race, of sorts, between developers and attackers has certainly forced the challenges to evolve in interesting ways, and it will be just as interesting to see what future approaches will look like and how they will strive to balance the ever-important trade-off between security and usability.